Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host Owen, channel that brings you your team every single day. The channel that is run by the fans for you, the fan. If you want your team every day, you need to hit that sub, ring that notification bell. And guys, if you can give the video a like, it would really help out. Thank you so much. Guys, hope you enjoyed the news video this morning. Obviously, the prime topic of that was the arrival of Cyril Dessers to Rangers. Dessers obviously signing yesterday for the club. There was also the update on Danilo, where I happened to mention Sunderland, which I was talking about because I got confused with Diallo and Danilo. That's because I was recording the video very, very late at night and was absolutely exhausted. So apologies there for that stupid error. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about what was on the title slide there. Rangers update, exits needed. Now, one of the things that has been raised by a number of people in the questions and in the comments on Twitter and on our Facebook group, Glasgow Rangers Nation Official. Check us out. Also on our Threads account. We've got a Threads account now, guys, as well. Was all about, the fact that when are we going to start selling players, and the fact that we've got to start shipping players out. And I think that's a fair shout. At the end of the day, the club are going to want to see a return on their money after outlaying some money over this summer. And the fact that the squad is currently very, very big. I was doing some research this morning, during a break at work, and 35 is our current squad number. 35, that is a huge squad. Now, Michael Beales spoke, didn't he, last season about the fact that he wanted to trim the squad down to around about 24, 25 players. So, if that's the case, there could be as many as 10 or 11 exits still to come this summer. But, it's a situation where there is a number of players that I think are looking to be moved on or need to be moved on or have come to kind of the end of their useful time at Rangers. You look at sort of the likes of, Glenn Kamara for this, Scott Wright. You've got players entering the last years of their contracts as well, like John Lundstrom, Borna Barisic, Kemar Roof. You've got John McLaughlin as well, who is, surely excess baggage at the goalkeeping position. There are a number of players. Now, obviously, Rangers have invested since January and brought in a number of new signings. And Nicholas Raskin, Todd Cantwell, Kieran Dowd, who, I think is definitely sailing under the radar. He could become a very key part of this Rangers team, a very highly skilled, great range of passing, real quality midfield player, someone who's not even been talked of at all this summer after his signing. So very much an under the radar kind of guy. Dujon Sterling, Jack Butland, Sam Lammers, Abdallah Sima, and obviously Cyril Dessers, who signed yesterday. So there's been a substantial number of players on the income to the club. So there's got to be players on the way out. And obviously Scott Wright has been mentioned now. It did look at one point like Scott was going to be on his way to Preston North End, but that move obviously fell through. There's been media reports, whether you choose to believe them or not, of interest from Stephen Gerrard of Etifak, or whatever they're called these days, interested reportedly in Scott Wright as well. Whether you believe that or not, hey, who knows? It could be just paper talk. But I think Scott Wright is definitely one who will be on his way out this summer. Add to that, of course, that Glenn Kamara. The latest story in the media this morning was that Glenn Kamara, that Besiktas were trying to take him on loan, which I don't think is really an option. Yes, it would get his wages off the wage bill for a year, but I think realistically, Rangers should be looking to sell him. To gain for 5-6 million. I suppose on the flip side, he goes to Turkey, has a really good season. Perhaps shows up to be the midfielder he was during the 55 season, during the Europa League run, and then maybe he's worth a little bit more. Who knows? Back to the offer that we had for him from Nice last summer. So who knows? I suppose there's benefits and bad points on both sides of the argument of loaning him out. The other rumours obviously around Antonio Cholak, the fact that obviously Rangers have brought Sam Lammers in, they've brought Abdallah Sima in, they've brought in Cyril Dessers. There's talk of Danilo. The fact that he may be well access to Rangers requirements. And look, I 100% get what Rangers fans are saying about Antonio Cholak in terms of the fact that people like him. He scores goals. He scored 18 goals last season in a heavily injury affected season, and give him a supply line, give him a supply of chances, he'll score goals. I think certainly against the lesser teams in Scotland. However, speaking to Adam Thornton the other night on the podcast, it's more that Cholak just doesn't fit what Michael Beale wants from a system. The fact that he wants the split wide strikers, the fact that he wants the two up the top. Cholak is more an out-and-out target man, a number 9, a kind of a lead the line on his own kind of guy. And yes, that could be useful for a plan B. But if you can raise 4 or 5 million for the sale of Cholak, or 3 to 5 million, whatever it's going to be, I can see Rangers doing that. I really can. And obviously, the interest from Bundesliga is real, I think, in terms of Antonio Cholak. Giannis Haji, he's been linked with moves away, particularly to Lecce in Italy. Again, at the risk of upsetting Victoria and making her cry, 3 to 5 million, I think you'd be talking deal there with Haji. He is, again, another one who could well be surplus to requirements and not get the game minutes that he wants. You've got Canwell, you've got Dower, you've got Lammers. There's a number of players can play in that number 10 role that Haji likes to play. You can't use him out wide. He's not fast enough. Tom Lawrence is returning, another player returning. So, Haji could well find himself very much excess to, what we need at the club. So, if the money could be got in for him, then, hey, it's well worth a punt, I think, on that one. You look at the current squad and goalkeepers wise, and I know here Lewis Brudanakis is on there. He's more a B team goalkeeper and a 21 goalkeeper. But if you look at the top 4 there, Jack Butland, Robbie McCrory, Kieran Wright, John McLaughlin. Again, I think 1 goalkeeper over. Most teams keep 3 goalkeepers on the roster. I think that's going to be Butland. I think that's going to be McCrory. I think that's going to be Wright, barring any shock sales of anyone like Robbie McCrory, for example, which I hope Rangers don't do, and they keep him here. And we go we go through pre-season with 2 goalkeepers fighting for 1 spot. 2 dogs, 1 bone brings out a stronger dog, doesn't it? At the end of the day, and hopefully that will be. And Butland and McCrory pushing each other all year, I think, will help to raise the standards of goalkeeping for Rangers as well. Kieran Wright, as I think 3rd choice keeper there, quite clearly could be used in cup games, maybe League Cup games, who knows. Then you look at the squad, and it's just an absolutely massive squad. You just look down that. There's so many players on there. And I know some of those guys are under 21s and B team players, but there's a number of players, that you can look at there and just question, are they going to play a useful role this season? Obviously, Tav will, Rid Van will, Connor Goldson will, John Suter will. Ben Davis, could Ben Davis be on his way out? A bit of £3 million. We've only paid £2 million for him so far. I know the deal was £4 million, but that was with add-ons and certain criteria being met. But those criteria, I'm reliably informed, have not yet been met. So Championship clubs are looking at Ben Davis. So could Davis be on the way out? Could he be one of those exits? Then you've got obviously Leon King. Again, is he going to go on loan? Do we keep him on? What happens with him? I think, again, it depends on what happens with Davis, whether we bring in Trusty, whether we bring in Panzo, someone like that. Adam Devine, what happens with Adam Devine? The fact that now we've got Dujon Sterling, James Tavernier, there's double up at right back there. So is Devine going to get games, or is it time for Devine to go out on loan to gain some more experience? Maybe down south in the Championship or something like that to get some playing experience. That the list goes on. You go down there. Obviously, Kieran Dowell is a quality player. Will play. John Lundstrom. What do we do with John Lundstrom? He's got a year left on his deal. Do we give him a new deal? Do we sell him on? What's going to happen with him? Giannis Haji, I think, is very much in the crosshairs of a sale. Ryan Jacks just signed a new 1-year contract. He's going nowhere. Stephen Davis. Now, Stephen Davis obviously is still injured. So what happens with Stephen? Is it a case of once he's back from injury, we then release him, or we then? What happens with Stephen? That is obviously a big one. Todd Cantwell obviously going absolutely nowhere. Glenn Kamara, like I've already mentioned, I think should be sold. Scott Wright again should be sold. Offerball, there is so much uncertainty over Namdi Offerball, isn't there? Over the heart condition, over our duty of care towards him, over what's happening with him. It's a lot of situation where we're looking at his medical treatment, we're looking after him, but to what extent does that duty of care end, and where does it end? Nikos Raskina is going nowhere. Robbie Fraser, a young player. Alex Lowry, a huge question mark over Alex Lowry. With all the players we have ahead of him now in the squad, Dowell, Cantwell, Lammers, Tom Lawrence, so much talent there. What happens with Alex Lowry? Does Alex Lowry get a game? No, I think last year was a difficult year for Alex. He had all those injuries, and then obviously he lost his mum. So I think, last year we can kind of write off for Alex, but is it a situation where he comes into the reckoning this season, or as well with no B team football this year, or the B team situation been very much clouded due to the withdrawal from the Lowland League? What happens with Alex? Is it a case of Alex going out on loan? Could he be one of those departures? You carry on down that list, and there's a number of players that Bailey Rice hopefully will get some opportunities. as will McCaws and as will Lyle, hopefully. But Rabbi Matondo, Fashion Sakala, again, players who could quite easily be moved on or traded away or, sent out on loan. It's open for debate, guys. There has to be, though, a lot of, I think, exits over the next couple of weeks. And I think over the next couple of weeks, we need to see players exiting the club. The squad is way too big. The wage bill obviously will be very high from that. And the players need to be moved on, don't they? So let me know in the comments below, who would you like to see moved on? Who from that list, from that squad list, do you think expendable? Who is, what sort of fees do you want for these guys as well? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for choosing to watch and listen to another episode of Glasgow Rangers Nation. Again, I'm out and about. I'm at work, actually, so I'm doing this whilst on a break. Always committed to bringing you the very latest news. Guys, I need you to do two things for me. Number one, smash that like. And number two, remember, always, we are the people.